Hello and welcome. I had the wrong screen open, so I usually see when it says to start. Hello and welcome to another episode of Loose Canon. We are back once again, finishing up reading the Tales of the Forgotten, Volume 3. And just as a recap, last week I'd said we were reading that one entry, and I took it very seriously, and it was just one of Ido's horror stories. And so, you know, it's just one of those valuable lessons of identifying who the narrator of everything you're reading is, because it's not that the lore is lying to us at any point. It's just that the person that is saying it, how truthful are they?
Right. It's a little bit of a misdirection and then kind of a character perspective.
Yeah. And I mean that's part of the fun, like for a long time, Uh, I was under the impression that everything the Drifter said was bullshit. How he went to the fourth tomb of Nezarec and stuff, and Shin Malfur, who he said that
Yeah.
to, was also like this fucking guy, and
This fucking guy.
and then when like Nezarec is a real thing and potentially had four tombs at the very least. Drifter was fucking name dropping him before we knew.
Right. Yeah. Makes you wonder.
But yeah. So back again. We're gonna have a good show. What's new with you, bud?
Just same old trudging along, waiting for the warmth to show back up in dry weather. It's
Mm,
been moist and soggy and raining. Is
yeah.
it still snow up there?
We've had some more snow, not much more. But it dawned on me the other day that for pretty much all of January, I hadn't seen the sun. It was just overcast every day, and I was like, wait a second, there hasn't been sunlight in a fucking month.
Weird. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it's been like the last 2 days. It's funny when it's like this. I get an idea because right now it's drizzly
Mm-hmm.
outside and it's a little bit cold, like when the drizzle hits you. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
times like this, I understand what it's like in, like, I don't know, Seattle, London,
Yeah,
you know?
nothing but rain areas.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
because like here, it's like normally when it snows, it snows and then it's over, and then the sun comes out and the snow melts relatively quick. With this,
Mhm.
it's just been so dreary and gray. It's like the roads are cleared. The roads have been cleared because there's cars driving on them. They were cleared the first day, all that stuff. But like grass would still have like just like half an inch of just like snow that will never melt because it's too cold and there's no sunlight to like hit it and warm it up.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so it's one of those. The sun's been coming out. We actually in the other room, in the living room, we have all the windows, blinds drawn, all that. So it's filled with sunlight right now.
It's funny. It's funny you bring up the whole grass thing because, like, grass here is just confused most of the time.
Confused.
Yeah, like the dormancy for grass, that it just goes brown, right? In most areas for a whole step of time. Well, here we have so many mixtures of grass, some that thrive in the winter months, and then the other ones that thrive in the dry, arid months, and the ones that,
Okay.
you know, yeah.
Yeah.
So we got these weird mixed fields of grass and
Mm-hmm.
lawns and stuff. And so, like, right now in my backyard, it's like there's spots of just green,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's like the actual Bermuda grass that's just all brown right now.
Yeah.
Um, it's so weird.
Yeah, we very rarely in the summer, our like local grass will be like that, like some places more than others. So that's actually, we're kind of the reverse on you. Our grass is more commonly like built for winter, it seems. And so like in the summer is when it goes brown, but yours is in the winter when it's too cold.
Yeah. And then we also get this thing where the roads get slimy.
Ugh.
So like right now, if you were to drive out on the asphalt, because it happens on asphalt, because we got a lot of
Hmm.
asphalt roads around here. Um, so you go sliding out on the asphalt every time you take a turn on, slimy weather conditions, I guess. So the roads here, like we got a lot of concrete roads and tons of highways. It's
Hmm.
Texas, so it's all highways.
Hmm.
Uh, but all the back roads and the ones that cut off to neighborhoods and stuff, a lot of those are asphalt in certain areas. And that asphalt, you'll get these long stretches of just blacktop and aggregate roads. And when conditions are like this, they get slimy. So
That's weird.
you'll go take a turn around a corner and all of a sudden your vehicle's fishtailing or you go hit the brakes.
Hmm.
And it's only when the conditions are like perfect, like when it's foggy or drizzly or, kind of like that in between weather.
Hmm. Yeah, we're kind of experiencing a pothole season because
Oh yeah.
all the
Forget
potholes,
about it.
it's colder out, so everything's kind of
Yeah.
contracting, and then you have plows going over it, so you have something scraping, and it just catches it, rips it right out, and
Man.
so like all the potholes that were filled are now open again, and it's
Yeah,
just
again.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
They just filled one down the road and it's like even bigger now.
yep, yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
the plow is fucking like with the chemicals they put on the road and just the fact that they're scraping it up like that. They damage the roads cuz
Really?
yeah, you know I used to skate more when I was younger. Um
Sure.
Connecticut roads are really rough in certain places because of that. Because of how it's made, because of like the beating it takes with the weather and everything. There's this place, this secret place. I might have actually told you about it. I heard about it when I was skating at a state park called East Rock. These guys were there. They're like, "Have you ever been to the Stone Garden?" And I was like, "No, what's that?" And they go, or I was like, "Where's that?" And they're like, "I can't tell you, but I can show you." It's like locals only type of thing,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
fucking surf spots. They're like, "I can't
Yeah.
tell you, but I can show you if we think you're cool." And because it was very like, don't fucking go telling this on the internet. We want to keep
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
place
That's right. You had a
before it
code
gets
word.
ruined. Yeah.
That's a skateboard code. So you had a code name for all your spots so nobody would
Yeah.
bomb them or they wouldn't blow them up.
Yeah. And so it was in a graveyard. And it was this
Mm,
massive sprawling graveyard, and it was like basically just like imagine like a big circle just with like roads snaking through, interconnecting and everything. And it was on this like one big hill, so like it just went down. And so you'd
yeah.
have some that went down really sharp, and you'd have some that went up a little bit, and some that just kind of like cruised. But you'd be just like, and it's like, all right, I'm going this way, and your buddy's like, I'm going that way, and your other buddy's like, I'm going that way, and then you keep
Yeah.
splitting up, meeting up, and then it all goes down to this one mausoleum, this like massive mausoleum at the end. And it was such a cool place. And they never plowed or salted the roads there. In the winter, they're just like, fuck you, we're closed. There's snow on
Okay.
the roads, you're not coming in. Those roads were fucking beautiful because of that. They were
No
so
kidding.
smooth. They were so nice, and that's why people loved it. Because it was just like, yeah, like you'll be turning easy, like sliding easy in every fucking turn. There's like no grip.
Nice.
My wife always makes fun of me because I told her about it, and the term for when a road is like that is that it's buttery. And so she'll just like randomly be like, "It's buttery," and I'm like, I regret sharing that piece of information.
Yeah. And it's like everything is buttery.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was
look,
a really
honey,
fun
this
place.
this turnip ahead is buttery.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'll get. I'll be like, "Yeah, that's not what it." All right. Yep. Just
Honey,
regret it.
I stopped at a stop sign yesterday and slid a little bit. It was buttery.
Yeah. Buttery and icy. Buttery is good. Icy is too much. Because icy is like you don't have control. Buttery is you have control
Okay.
in it. You still kind of
Yeah.
have it. That was a fun place though.
You downhillers.
That was a cool place though, because everyone
Yeah.
was like really respectful. Like no one was like making noise or anything. It was just you go there, you skate, you don't bug anyone. If anyone's there, you stay out of their way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's
and
the way
that's
to do
that's
it.
why that's why it was like you got to be invited to this place. You can't just come yourself.
Right.
Um, yeah, fun times. Fucking buttery.
Don't
Uh,
talk about my spot. It's the first rule of Fight Club.
Yeah. That it at least back in the day it got fucking like serious. Like there were towns that if you weren't from that town and you were seen skating there,
Yeah.
people they'd be like, "No, you're not allowed to fucking skate here. Get the fuck out." And it's like,
Yeah, that's a locals thing.
yeah,
That happens everywhere you go, man, you know?
yeah. Well,
You know, it's too
anyway,
flat. It's too flat here in Texas for a lot of downhill.
yeah.
So,
That's all I wanted to do. Like I used to skate and it would just be like, all right, let's go to this staircase and let's go to
yeah,
like the town hall or this jeweler
yeah,
and stuff like that. And
yeah,
I just got bored of it. There were always fucking like punks starting shit, and I was just like, I have more
yeah,
fun just going fast anyway.
yeah. That's what happens. A lot of the spots will end up being a hangout, and then,
Yeah,
it gets crappy. And like people that go there to skate, now
yeah,
there's just all these other people there lounging, and it's just they get in the way and tear
hmm,
stuff up.
yeah.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even mind if they were just lounging, but it's just like when like eight fucking like 12-year-olds with attitude on scooters come up. It's just like I don't want to fucking be here
not
anymore.
the scooter
On the
kids.
on the fucking scooter, and they think they're tough. They're like, do a kickflip. I'm like, okay. And they're like, like mad and like I could
Not
do
the
better.
scooter kids. Uh, yeah, the rollerbladers and scoot like the rollerbladers, I have way more respect for. But
Yeah, you're
the
committed on a roller on rollerblades.
the bad, I mean, the thing that we as skateboarders get annoyed with most about rollerbladers is they don't stop. They don't bail. They can't bail,
Yeah,
so they
that's
just
what I
keep
mean. You're
going
committed.
forever. Yeah. And so they just keep rolling back and forth. And it's like, bro, can you just like give it a rest so somebody else can have a turn?
Yeah.
And then the BMXers, they never bothered me either. The only thing bad about a BMXer is when you're at a wood skate park and they just
Hmm.
blow up the ramps. Concrete, we're fine. But the scooter kids are the worst.
Mm.
Their parents don't pay attention to them, and then they snake your run or they go right out in front of you, and you end up giving a little 5-year old a concussion because they
Yep.
don't know what they're doing.
And then the parents are paying attention.
Yeah, yeah, and you're just like, dude, get your kid, teach
Yeah.
them some, code of ethics or
Yeah.
etiquette, skate park etiquette, dude. Should be
Yeah.
a class.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I used to bowl, and there was a thing called lane courtesy, where it's like if two people are pursuing at
Yeah,
the same time, the person to the right goes first, and then you go. You don't go at the same time because
right,
that's how you get hurt. And when I go bowling now, and people like just run up on the lane while I'm on the lane, or they're dancing fucking over, like
right.
I get that you want to have fun and stuff, but like you know, understand that I'm here too. Like I
Right.
want to have fun too, and that involves you
Yeah,
not dancing in front of me as I'm
yeah,
fucking coming up with a 16-pound ball in my hand. Like you're gonna get fucking hurt.
yeah.
Well, how about we get to the lore card this week?
Nah, this is fun. Let's just keep talking about skateboarding.
Yeah, we're gonna pivot the podcast. We're loose cannon. We're loosely about Destiny now.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
brought to you from the Destiny Armory to find our weekly lore card.
yeah. It's a machine gun. Yeah, this was pretty cool. I like the way this model looks because they've taken Thunderlord and
Yeah,
like created a bunch of other machine guns out of it, I
but
guess.
not
Well,
Abaddon and Nova Mortis.
oh yeah, I know, man. So there was Abaddon, Nova Mortis,
And
Thunderlord.
Thunderlord.
Those are the
Yeah.
we should have got a Stasis one and a
Yep.
Strand one.
Well, I
Would have
mean,
been so
I
cool.
want them to bring them all back. That's like the dream right there, right? So you have your
Right.
Abaddon, you have your Nova Mortis, because like right now, what Thunderlord does is it has those like lightning strikes that like come
Yeah.
down, and it's like okay, so Abaddon, give it like what was the gun? Was it Polaris Lance where it was like every 5 shots causes an explosion or something like that?
Oh man, that would
Yeah.
be
Give
insane.
Abaddon like just it causes massive solar explosions periodically. Give
Yeah.
like Nova Mortis like it like what is the linear fusion rifle that everyone hates, the void one. What's that void one that everyone hates? It's in the secondary,
Hmm.
it's in the special slot.
Mm.
Well, it's the linear fusion. Everyone hates it because it's like good and competitive, and when you get a headshot with it, it has a pulling force, so it pulls everyone in, and then it
Right
like does
on.
a detonation. Like give Nova Mortis that, and like
That sounds cool.
give Stasis one unraveling or suspension. Give or that was Strand. Give stasis like slow and thus freeze. Like there's so
Yeah.
it'd be so fun to have those weapons. They would probably never be like uh, DPS competitive, but it'd just be like this is fucking awesome. Just rolling
Yeah,
up
it'd just be
with a
fun. Like,
squad of
yeah.
wards.
Yeah, if you could go, that's really fun because when you go down into like the old Vanguard strikes and you're just having fun with goofy weapons,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like see how many things you can annihilate with one dragon's breath,
Yeah.
rocket, stuff like that.
I wish
Yeah.
that's someone I don't want to be too much on the I wish Destiny would do this train, but that is something I
Yeah.
wish Destiny would do. Like lean
Well, Riven's
into the
listening, so
fun.
be careful what you wish for.
Well, I'm just saying lean into the fun. Like we have
Yeah.
our serious playlists. Give us a goof off playlist. Like,
In the series playlist, like I'm not gonna open up a can of worms, but dude, just oh my God. Like Trials, oh my God.
yeah, but I mean, like, give us a strike playlist with infinite heavy ammo or massively spawning heavy ammo because it's probably easier just to tool it that way rather
Yeah.
than strictly infinite. But and it's just like, yeah, I'm just running through strikes with two friends, like just shooting the shit with fucking Thunderlord, Abaddon, and Nova Mortis, just fucking shit up. It's
That'd be
just
cool.
for fun.
Yeah, that would be cool.
All
Well,
right, well, what's this lesser machine gun about?
yeah, so this one is a void machine gun. Like
Yeah.
you get it in its void, which is kind of weird, but I don't know. Maybe there's something to it. I don't know. Who knows? Uh, so it's called Zafan, and so like I'm butchering that name, but Zafan was a fallen angel who plotted to burn down heaven and was banished to hell for defying God. And
Really?
I say heaven, hell, and God as in a like a universal term for all of that because it became more prevalent in um like later in Christianity. It's not a part of the Bible, but I don't know if anybody out there is familiar with Calvinism, but when they started preaching, fire and brimstone later
Mm.
on in
Hmm.
Christianity, there were like many demons and hell and Satan and all these things that they later basically attributed to certain characters from the Bible. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Yeah.
Uh, but this character or this demon is from a very long time ago, and it's a really good example of how stories spread and influence other stories across the globe from, like, I mean, this thing goes so far back, uh,
Hmm.
ancient Egypt, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so Zophan was a fallen angel who plotted to burn down heaven and was banished to hell for defying God. So it's kind of a cool story because it's well, let's just get into it. So this character, he's said to, or they are said to be eternally fanning the flames of hell with a bellows. Bellows is like that weird um,
Yeah, like
tool.
the thing.
Yeah,
I,
the
I did
thing.
it right.
So yeah, you did. It's so it's like it's almost like an accordion with a nozzle at the end, two handles, and you just keep pressing it and it blows air out of it.
Hmm.
So that's like the depiction of Zafan. Um, he or it Zafan represents fire, alchemy, challenging authority, the pursuit of knowledge, and the balance between good and evil. Um, so Qua just means like or like having the qualities of. So it's funny because they use Qua Zafan, so that means this machine gun has qualities like Zafan the demon,
Hmm.
but it's void. So It's
So
it's
so
just
you're
funny.
saying you think it should be solar because he's fanning the
W-
flames of hell?
Well, maybe not because there is something in here. So, Zafan is an elusive and enigmatic entity, often depicted as a fallen angel or a demonic figure across various cultural and religious mythologies. Its origin can be traced back to ancient texts and belief systems, including Christian, Islamic, and other occult traditions later on. Um, so there are some pictures of like ancient wall carvings and uh, wall paintings and stuff. And so Zavan is kind of like this demonic character that's blowing onto the fire to keep it stoked, keep it lit,
Hmm.
basically, because you have to have air to keep the fire burning. So that's basically what uh, he does. So in Christian lore, Zephan is considered one of the fallen angels who defied God, alongside others and Lucifer. So, although not explicitly mentioned in the religious scriptures, Zephan has become a part of a wider folklore and mythology and different narratives revolving around rebellion. Um, During the rebellion against heaven, he proposed to set fire to heaven before he and the other fallen were cast out. Uh, After being cast out of heaven and into the abyss, aka void,
Hmm.
he has been fanning the flames of the furnace of hell with his mouth and hands. And so there's some cool art, that shows drawings of Safan. He kind of looks like almost like a golem creature with some horns on his head, and he's holding the bellows and he's blowing with his mouth at the same time, stuff like that. Uh, so he was banished to the void. So maybe that's where they're going with the void weapon. I don't know.
Hmm.
Uh, Zafan is described as being associated with fire. Zavan is often attributed to the task of tending to fires of hell or possessing a close connection with the element fire, right? Some accounts, Zafan is believed to possess the power to summon or manipulate flames and has the emblem of the bellows. So, like, there's a lot of monikers and stuff that popped up along the way for like the emblems of certain characters and creatures from folklore. And so, you might be in a bar one day and see like a little bellows emblem, and it indicated Zafan, right? It was just like a nod to that person. Or somebody might use it as a moniker for like a really tough team, stuff like that. And
Hmm.
I find it interesting that along the ways, I mean, just like even Satan himself has become kind of like this caricature of this red, pointy black beard, horns, evil stare type of character, right? Uh, and they use the image, for all kinds of things, the deviled ham in a can at the supermarket, Um, so it's just funny how a lot of things like this pop up in culture later on, and it's just kind of been like characterized. Like for instance, Shax's name comes from a demon, but so like the word Shax, everybody's like, "What is Shax?" Well, that's a demon also. Um, but Zafan is one of the demons, one of the primary demons. So anyway, later on, Zafan became to be known with alchemy, which is cool because Destiny plays with alchemy and esoteric knowledge. So this is where it kind of gets interesting because in the game of Destiny, there are a lot of nods to alchemy and esoteric knowledge. Even the phrase "ayat" seems to evoke the same kind of principle, the foundational principle of occultism, which is kind of cool. The It's often considered or Zafan is often considered a symbol of transformation, particularly linked to the concept of transmuting base metals into gold, which is where alchemy comes from. So this connection is, associated with the hidden wisdom or arcane practices. Um, it's important to note the interpretations of Zaphan's origins and characteristics differ, depending on the cultural or religious context. So there's a really wide representation for Zaphan across the globe. So while certain people might see him as just straight up a demon from a biblical uh, perspective, others might just see him as a character in some, other type of Eastern folklore or whatnot. Um, Many others view Zaphan as a sympathetic creature, and this happened in like occultism and esoterics, stuff like that. Um, they kind of depict him as a icon for rebelling against oppressive authority, in pursuit of enlightenment and liberation. So he's kind of like used as a symbol for, pursuing knowledge in the face of, oppression, basically. Zavan's origins stem from ancient texts, like I said before, and mythology. So whether seen as a fallen angel or demonic figure, he's basically a symbol of rebellion, which shows the wrestling between good and evil. So, like when you think of things being inherently good or inherently evil, he represents this character in between. He was kind of torn between heaven and hell, decided to align with the plot to burn heaven down, and then he was kind of banished to the void where he basically created fire
Hmm.
in opposition to. So anyway, interesting stuff. Uh, Void Weapon probably had something to do with that, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe they just were like, oops.
I mean, I'm sure there's many factors into going what the weapon will be. Like, obviously, some thematic and some just, well, we need a void machine gun. It's been so
Yeah,
long since we had one.
yeah, yeah. You're right.
I was, you kind of sent me down a little rabbit hole there with checks and everything, and I found a wiki page that I thought it was all about like demonology and stuff, and it
Hmm.
turns out it was actually a Hellboy wiki.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, there's some cool nods to mythology and folklore and Hellboy. I love the Hellboy comics.
Yeah, I've never read them.
Uh, I'm not like well versed in them either, but
Hmm.
from what I read, I really enjoyed them. I even
Hmm.
like the dumb movies.
Yeah, I like the movie. I mean, I was a kid when those movies came out, so of course I like those movies.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. The this gets sensitive because there are people out there that take certain things very seriously. But on the wider global perspective, just to kind of acknowledge it, I really do believe at the base of it all, there's a there's a central story that was started, and then from then on, it changed and was shared and elaborated, and you know, from there on, it just went on and on and on and on and on and on, and then cultures and decades went by and centuries went by, and here we are today, playing with a video game and talking about Hellboy and their mythological characters that were started so far back that most of the people, don't even have written history of some of them. So it's like, what does it mean today versus
Mm,
what does it mean back then? It's just like some of the words we use, they're so archaic that the original meaning has been lost. I mean, like like the most recent one would be literal.
mm,
So you got to be careful because there are certain things that linguistically no longer mean what they originally meant, even though that's the origin of that word. And so if you, like me, if you dive down into these things and then you try to take things literal, oftentimes you find out you're just wrong. But yeah, Shax's name came from a demon. It's funny because in his story, the Shax from the Book of Demons or whatever. The only way to keep him, like keep him under control is to draw a circle around him or something like that. And he'll do whatever you want him to do as long
Yeah,
as you draw a circle around. Yeah.
it was a triangle at least in the Hellboy.
Oh yeah, yeah. It might actually be a triangle. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me wonder because I think it was either last week or a couple weeks ago that I was saying that I'm a big fan, even if it's completely fucking wrong. I'm a big fan that Shax is Shakespeare, and he like
Yeah.
came out of the grave, and the grave was
That's so
like
funny.
damaged or obscured, so he just saw Shaks, and he's like, yes, Shax, that must be my name, and
Yeah.
just fucking
Shaq
ran with
Slayer.
it.
Yeah, I love it.
I wish that would be true. I wonder if there's like any
What was
legal.
Shakespeare? No,
Yeah,
it's in the public domain. Everything's
yeah, but I mean, it's
Shakespeare
a
related.
person, right? Like they can't just do whatever they want with a person, can? I guess they
Sure they
can
can. Yeah.
actually.
At
Yeah,
this point they can. They can totally do that. Yeah. Because it's like it
yeah.
would
He's
be
been in
like
Doctor Who.
yeah, like 200 years from now you can use Prince's name as long as somebody doesn't keep,
Oh,
renewing the rights. You know what I mean?
well, I mean, I don't know if I don't know if he actually owns the name Prince.
He doesn't. That's what I'm saying. Like they keep
Like
renewing
you
the
can use
rights
it
for the
now
yeah.
because he doesn't own it. He just calls himself it. Oh, look at my hair.
Well, he's dead.
What?
Yeah, Prince died a while ago.
Really?
Bro, where have you been?
Well, I don't. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's okay.
I don't pay attention to things like that. It's always a shock. Like if I don't see it
Yeah.
trending on Twitter, then I don't know it. And if I do see it trending on
Yeah.
Twitter, there's a good chance I forgot about it.
Yeah, it's pretty sad actually. I love Prince.
Yeah.
Just his early stuff. I didn't tell that new stuff. But I mean, he was an amazing person just because he wrote so many songs. Like most of the stuff you hear, or a lot of the things you hear on the radio, were probably written originally by Prince.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm just looking into
Yeah,
it now.
yeah. Hey, David Bowie died too. I don't know if you knew that. But...
I mean, I didn't, but
Oh no.
I but I'm not surprised in that one. When you say that, it's like, yeah, they were old,
Uh,
right?
yeah. Well, you heard Elvis died too, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah, he's not dead. Actually, he's hanging out with Tupac.
Oh shit. David Bowie died less than 10 years ago.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that was
Okay,
a bad year for deaths. A lot of really cool
that's
people died that year.
that's more surprising to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Tough stuff, man.
that covers our obituary section. Deaths in the last decade. So how about
Well,
we get reading and we finish off this book and we put it to bed.
yeah, let's do that.
All right. So we
Chapter
left
one.
off
No, I'm just joking.
we left off on we finished reading chapter 22 last week in our last episode. So if you want to
Yeah.
listen to all of them, if you haven't seen that, if you want to read them yourself, they're on Ishtar. There's many ways that you can just enjoy, kick back, listen from here on out. So chapter 23. In the depths of the tower, Imaru cobbled together a prototype torso for his monster with patchwork remnants of deceased headless ones, fragments of pumpkins stolen while tagging along with the Guardian. Missing sections were filled in, the left arm of a deceased ogre, the right ripped from a freshly made thrall. Imaru worked well into the night, wiring and welding and seaming and cutting. Finally, it was ready. Imaru sent a current flowing through the wires and ran siphoned ether into his creation. The chest began to swell and heave as if it were breathing. The eyes glowed bright blue, and ether poured from its ragged mouth. The monster torso pulled itself upright and dragged itself, a trail of seeds and fibrous orange flesh left behind along the table. The headless one set its gaze upon its marker, and then it grabbed him. The monster's ogre arm ripped Amaru's shell with all its strength and pulled him towards its mouth as ether vapor rolled over the ghost's eye. Without warning, the head cracked at the seams. It split apart, splattering across the floor. The torso slumped lifeless against the table. What the fuck?
Yeah. It's Frankenstein.
I mean, if you want to call it that, I
Yeah.
see how it is, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
It'd be really cool if and obviously it would require like a whole new engine, but it'd be really cool if the Destiny engine, if the monsters, if the enemies that we fight were built in such a way, and this is probably like impossible for like any game ever to do, but it'd be really
Yeah.
cool if it was like, okay, here's the arm and you can just like plug it all together however you want so you could have like monstrosities like this.
Yeah. That'd be pretty
That'd be
neat.
fun.
So, what was the crack? So, okay, so I'll read it. Chapter 24. When Ido found Ikora, she was meditating beneath a what kind of tree is this? Is this a
Jacaranda? Or are you actually
yeah?
asking if I know? I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't I've never okay. So anyway, meditating beneath a jacaranda tree, away from the noise of the bazaar. Is there something you need? Ikora asked, amusement apparent in her voice, her eyes still closed. I'm sorry to disturb you, Ido said. Not at all, Ikora replied. She patted the ground beside her. Glint tells me you have aspirations of becoming an author of scary stories. How are you doing? It was going well at first. I had so many ideas, but now I think I'm blocked, as Glint put it. I thought that writing could help me handle my fears. I've been very scared of a lot of things lately. Ikara looked at her knowingly. Eris, she simply said. Ida nodded. But writing is not improving in spite of my fear. It is suffering from it. When we used the deck of whispers, Ikara quirked an eyebrow, and Ido raised one of her hands. I know, I know. Glint said he left a note. The cards made me realize that there are so many different sources of fear in the universe, a multitude of threats, of unknowns. Perhaps that has become my greatest source of dread. It's important to be honest with yourself and what you're feeling, Ikora replied kindly. You are not alone in these thoughts, these fears, but don't let the cards distract you. They are not meant to tell you fortune or future. They're meant as a guide, a form of insight into yourself. You are the one who ascertains a course of action, not the cards. Um, Real quick pause.
Mm-hmm.
This bottom part where she says that, those are kind of like the main like thoughts about occultism and esoterics. So like Eris is playing with cards, and people who play with occultism and esoterics, they use the cards, and that's kind of how they view it as well. So that's a good little summary of the perspective that people who practice, you know, esoterics kind of think.
Yeah. Because that's
Yeah.
that's kind of like with tarot cards effectively because they are supposed to
Yeah.
be
So
tarot
tarot cards
cards.
is like the most known esoteric practice, and it's really become like a novelty and like a
Yeah.
yeah, over the years we've people make fun of everything, but like over the years it's become like a kitschy type of make
Yeah.
fun of this practice type of thing. And like you have the the sphere at the beginning at the middle of the table, seances to commune with the dead. That
Well, yeah,
yeah.
years ago, did you ever play the game Dishonored? I think it's
No, but we brought
Ubisoft.
this up before, I think.
Oh, because they had tarot cards.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, so then there was a pre-order bonus where they had their own deck of tarot cards, and it was like a full, however the fuck many tarot cards. But instead of like cups and wands and swords, it was like rats and coins and things
Oh,
based on the games. And instead of
sure.
the tower, the hanged man, and all that, it
Yeah.
was characters from the game. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. I want to do tarot reading. So I was like looking up what does a tarot reading mean? And it's like in my mind, not knowing anything about it, I'm like, if I drew the tower, it means this. It is very this, like set in stone, easy. And
Sure.
I could just draw the cards, then look up the definitions and be like blah 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 blah. And it's not like that at all. It's very open to interpretation of its meaning.
Yeah.
And it was made
Yeah.
more so with the Dishonored tarot, because instead of it being based on the original tarot cards, it was based on characters, and those characters might fit some of the old tarot, but they were distinct. So like I was like on Reddit and they were like, "Well, what does that character represent in the story, in the game, and like what were their actions? Like what would that card mean? What would the opposite, like the inverse of that card mean?"
Right.
And all that stuff. And I was like, man, that's not fun. And I only I only used them to play. I made a special version of solitaire with tarot cards, and that's how I used to
That's
play with
funny.
them.
So, okay, so I did a really one day I did a massive deep dive into the world of esotericism and, the occultism and trying to understand more about it.
Yeah.
And the cards, originally they were just playing cards, they were
Mm-hmm.
originally just the simple deck of cards, which that even goes way back. Like they played with other things before the deck of cards, but like starting with the actual known deck of cards, um, people used to use these as like, where are we headed? What are we doing? What are we
Mm-hmm.
doing? On their travels around, uh, the world and whatnot. And so that's why it really became synonymous with like gypsies and
Mm.
like in the more like the more recent times, like what we think of like roaming rogues and people that travel and stuff like that. So because they always had cards with them to kind of kill the time and try to see what obstacles were up ahead. You're right, because the characters were very like within the confines of the group that they were speaking of.
Mm.
And so a lot of times they would say like, like the two of clubs represented this person or this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was upside down, sideways, or whatever, when you drew it, it meant a different thing too. So
Mm-hmm.
what's really cool is the turn of the century, in the 1900, or the 1800s, right at the end of the 1800s, before the 1900s, the turn of the century, when the industrial revolution and all that stuff, we harken back to those days a lot of times for like noir films or for games and movies and stuff. And so there's been countless uh things that have been done in pop culture, harken back to those old timey days, the kind of like, you know, diesel punk, stuff like that, the
Diesel
clockwork.
punk.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just trying to like put a bow on it, right? We have this one particular block of time when the Industrial Revolution was happening, but everything was very mechanical and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that people were holding on to was uh, esoterics. And it became this really cool, fun thing to do with a group of friends. You would go to a basement of a nightclub or a bar or whatever, and there would be this secret meeting with a bunch of friends just having a great party, drinking, smoking cigarettes, whatever. And there would be tarot cards. And so it became a really fun thing for people to break out their Ouija boards and tarot cards and have readings and talk about life and who's the smartest in the room and tell ghost stories and try to create a story and stuff like that. And so that's in fact that's kind of where Mary Shelley's uh, book Frankenstein actually came from, was from one of those, you know, gatherings of friends all just
Mm-hmm.
trying to scare each other. And she, on the spot, was challenged to make up a scary story, and she did,
You
and
ever
created.
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. That's all of it.
Yeah.
But basically, all I'm saying is, so what are modern day ideas and thoughts about esoterics and occultism comes from that block of time, generally when we're speaking of it now in pop culture.
Yeah. Have you
So.
ever read the book Haunted by Chuck Palahniuk?
Oh man, my wife's a massive Chuck fan. She has every single book on the shelf.
Yeah. Haunted is
But no,
a very gross, scary story where
as it
basically,
always is with that guy.
yeah, where basically, you have this eccentric rich guy who wants to be a part of the next great novel, and so he puts out the word of a reading retreat, and he's like, all right, everybody come in, and you're just, or not a writing retreat, and everybody, all these writers come in. You're trapped. There's plenty of food. Don't worry. You're not in any danger. I'm just keeping you here because you said you would stay here for like 3 weeks or whatever, right? You all agreed you would be here for that amount of time to write. And we're going to try to like kind of recreate the Frankenstein or
Oh,
origin. And, people naturally that it plays with this concept of like, to be a good writer, you have to be truly tortured. And,
yeah.
well, they weren't being tortured. So,
So they start getting tortured.
so they started torturing themselves and torturing each other and
Oh,
putting themselves through it to write the better
yeah.
book type of thing. Very very graphic, not for the faint of heart. Like the first story, each writer has a code name and a story about how fucked up their life already is. And the very first one, it's called Guts, and he did a reading somewhere, and people were like violently sick at the reading because of just how graphic it is.
Wow.
Uh, so yeah, just in regards to,
That's funny because, this is a good little like detour we took because we're drawing on like the influences of writers, right? Because we're dealing with Destiny and they have beautiful lore and amazing people on the team at Bungie writing for Destiny. It's like it's one of those gifts that's just so underappreciated
yeah,
in all of the things. And we are so fortunate to have amazing writers. Like I have never been witness to any other video game or anything that had the level of writing that this thing does.
yeah. Just
So,
imagine
you know,
printing out every lore entry, like anything that's like more than like a few sentences, just like piled up.
yeah,
It's a lot.
yeah,
And it's
it's a
a
lot.
long
It
running
really is.
game, so of course it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, some
Um,
of this stuff is just great. But so, like,
yeah,
like you bring it up, like we're talking about Frankenstein. This little snippet, is conjuring up a writer's, history of study or just, whatever it
yeah,
is, influence into this particular synopsis of a silly festival
yeah,
that was challenged to write a part of this thing, and there it is. So it's cool that there's so many things to draw upon.
yeah. And well, let's go back to Imaru and his failed Frankenstein with Chapter 25.
Yeah, this is cool.
Imaru and Archie nervously stared at their second assembled prototype on the table. The tech knitted through the salvaged organic components had been upgraded. A Cabal sword replaced its right hand. Splicer wiring wove through its left arm. Vex milk coursed throughout its veins. The rest had been completely pieced together from carefully procured Headless One parts, reassembled into a patchwork of organic horror. It oozed a dark, gelatinous liquid from its seams and smelled of death. Next to the body was the final piece, a perfectly intact pumpkin head. Archie sniffed and pawed at the dormant head, and the pumpkin rocked from side to side. Careful, Umaru snapped. Those things don't sever easily without exploding. What? He shuddered. One favor to Drifter is enough. Amaru attached the head to the body. A perfect, mutilated fit. He opened the chest cavity, and flesh stretching and tearing as he inserted a discolored hive crystal inside. Energy surged through the headless monster, and a haunting red light flickered inside its head. It howled and snarled as it sat up. Ah ha ha, it's perfect, perfect, Amaru mused with glee. You want candy, huh? You crave it? Need it? Amaru said to the monster. It ambled forward and swiped its good arm at him in response. Then go out there and get it. All of it, Amaru said. The monster found its footing and began to hurry toward the door. Archie growled and raced after it as Amaru giggled with delight. Now the real fun begins.
Ugh.
This honestly, it kind of upsets me that this is the potential, has been the potential of something that could happen in the Destiny universe for 10 fucking years.
Right. Yeah. That's funny.
It's like, yeah, let's just fucking throw a Frankenstein together, pump it full of Vex milk, and just hive crystals shoved inside.
See what happens.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay. So chapter 26. This one's short. The headless one quickly made its way to the bazaar. Vendors scattered. People grabbed hatchlings and children, running in every which direction. Glint and Ida watched in horror as the headless one lashed out and shoved a rotisserie over, quickly catching nearby booths on fire. It ripped apart a display of candy, devouring every last piece in sight. And when it was gone, the monster continued its rampage. It tore through lanterns, pulling them apart as if searching for something. It smashed fruit from one booth, threw vegetables from another. Frustrated, it began to claw at a drawing of candy on the ground, a fistful of decorations in its good hand, as it shrieked with a blood curdling scream.
Chapter 27. A headless one, Ido and Glint exclaimed in unison as Archie ran up beside them. We need to help. I'll go find Crow, Glint said. There's no time. The longer we wait, the more dangerous this monster becomes, and someone could be killed. We have to stop it now, Ido replied. She hastily analyzed the composition of the monster. It's not like the headless ones we've studied before. Look at its appendages. Is that Vex milk? I think so, Glint said. Uh, Saccharomyces cerevisiae and sucrose react with Vex milk. If my calculations are correct, the chemical reaction creates a mass in what humans categorize as toothpaste. If the excreted gas gets caught, the point, Glint, the headless one would break apart without putting anyone in danger. It would have to ingest it would have to ingest the catalyst, Ida surmised. Exactly. But it's not like we can force feed it bread. It eats candy. Archie barked repeatedly beside them. I don't speak dog, Glint said. And Ido shrugged. Archie growled and then transmatted a pile of candy onto the ground. Ido and Glint exchanged a look of surprise. That'll work, she said. So wait, like, is this thing like a giant uh 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 wait, I need to look it up. Plaque monsters. What was that thing? There was a thing where there were like plaque monsters, right? From like an old cartoon.
Plaque monsters.
Yeah, like
Oh,
plaque your
oh,
teeth
from like,
plaque.
oh, for like teeth. Yeah. I don't know.
Because
That
he
weird
just said
word
he just
that
said toothpaste would destroy it. Did Glenn make a plaque monster?
maybe the one of the ingredients that you couldn't pronounce is a particular type of yeast used in beer making and or other baking stuff. So which it makes sense why it excreted gas because the gas is released from the yeast that they use to make this monster. But they combine milk with yeast. And so there's something going on here because if a chemical reaction creates a mass in what humans categorize as toothpaste,
Oh, so wait, no, it
then
makes toothpaste.
yeah.
Okay.
So like yeah, if you catch its excreted gas, you
It
get
makes
toothpaste.
it makes toothpaste?
Yeah. What? Some form of toothpaste is being
That's
made.
that's disgusting.
Yeah. It eats candy. which kind of makes
Naturally.
sense though, because all they're trying to say is like, okay, if you had a monster and it ate candy, what would it defecate? You got to have the opposite, right? So it'd be toothpaste because candy rots your teeth. Now you got toothpaste.
I don't know if I follow that logic entirely, but I do see where you're coming
I,
from.
I mean, I guess that's what they're trying to say here is like if you've got a monster and it's eating candy, what is it going to excrete, right?
Yeah, toothpaste, I guess.
Yeah, obviously toothpaste.
I I got nothing.
I mean, same here. I mean, they're being silly. I mean, they're
Yeah.
obviously having a lot of fun with this.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right, chapter 28. Ido raced to a nearby vendor table of Elixni baked goods and swiped the biggest loaf she could find. Her four hands worked furiously, tearing off chunks of bread and wrapping them in candy wrappers. And she suddenly realized she was very glad to be Elixni. Ido, Clint yelled. She looked up and saw the headless one barreling towards them and the assorted pile of candy, air quotes, at her feet. They scrambled out of the way just as the headless one descended on the colorful wrappers. It devoured everything without a second glance, but nothing happened. I don't understand, Glint said. That should have worked. Perhaps there is a chamber inside, something to hold the Vex milk as it distributes around the body, Ido asked. We're going to find out, Glint said. He zipped toward the headless one, scanning it as if it swiped furiously at him. The chest, he's called out. Just another monster batted. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm butchering this. The chest, he called out, just as the monster batted him away. Glint spun through the air, dizzy but unharmed. Archie barked and immediately rushed into action, enticing the headless one to chase him. The dog led it toward the kettle corn stand, weaving quickly through its legs. The monster stumbled and Archie leapt forward, giving it a solid shove. The monster caught the massive cast iron kettle, pulling it down as it fell to the ground. The kettle landed on its chest with a solid crunch, pouring popcorn and hot liquid sugar into the headless one's body. The monster howled in pain and pried itself free. It swayed as it stood, Vex milk bubbling from the chest wound. Crow, Zavala, and Anna rushed forward with Glint beside them, and Ido pushed them away. Get back! She yelled and took cover. The headless one screamed again, its body expanding, the edges of the pumpkin head splitting and cracking. Suddenly, the monster exploded, erupting in a rainbow of foam that rose thick and high into the sky before cascading in a sticky sea coating the entire bazaar.
All right. Uh
Okay.
So, chapter 29, the remains of the festival stands in a laid in a heap. Everything and everyone covered in a layer of rancid, foamy pumpkin ooze. Imaru drifted by, almost dancing through the air as he surveyed the destruction. Did you see that? It was like a giant foamy screeb, he laughed. Better than anything I could have imagined. You did this? Crow exclaimed, and Imaru tipped his hive shell toward him in response. I just set the events in motion. Your little friends there finished the job. The sticky substance, haha, it is amazing, by the way. No notes, definitely worth the look on your faces right now. He cackled and floated away. Happy Festival of the Lost, meatbags.
What an asshole.
I I thought he was really trying to get candy. Was it all just for bullshit?
Yeah, it seems like it. Seems like he's just having fun destroying stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so chapter 30. What a mess, Ido said. The destruction of the bazaar's festival space is disheartening. The substance created in the explosion is, well, much stickier than we calculated. Not to mention the smell, Zavala said, covering his nose. This is unbearable. Anna swiped a sample of material from her shoulder. It's disgusting, but still just organic material. When I was performing some diagnosis on Archie the other day, I noticed a cleanup protocol buried in his subroutines, but I couldn't access the code. Maybe we could ask him to try it out here. What does he do with it? Put everything in a pile? Eat it? Crow asked. Anna shrugged. Only way to find out. Only one way to find out. Archie, would you be willing to run it? Archie barked and got to work.
I'm concerned. I think it's going to be another fat Archie. Chapter 31. Deep in the bowels of one of Spider's warehouses, he gripped the neck of a warehouse worker. So tell me something. When the rule no stealing was explained to you, which part did you not understand? The worker struggled against Spider's grip. I didn't steal the candy. You know what's worse than stealing from me? Lying to me about it, Spider snarled. I'll have you. He suddenly stopped, sniffing the air, and immediately dropped the worker as his gag reflex kicked in. What's that smell? He looked up only to see a barrage of brightly colored foam and rancid pumpkin rain down on his head. Oh
Yeah, it's perfect. He deserves a bath
no.
in it. That's awesome. I'm imagining one of those, when they would do those big rainbow foam experiments out in fields, and they
No.
would fill up okay, so there's this cool thing where certain chemicals and stuff. I mean, it's all like harmless, but certain chemicals and colored dyes, you put them in a big 50-gallon drum out in a field somewhere, and then the explosion is so big and the foam is so great, it covers like a football field, like in an instant.
Okay.
It's so cool. Look it up. But I'm imagining like that's what's happening here with that monster exploded and it just all went in the air suddenly. All right, chapter 32. As Crow and Zavala made their way through the Elixni quarter, they passed a cluster of young Elixni gathered around a mechanical dog. One hatchling ran forward and stopped short in front of Zavala, her forearms full of candy. She looked up at him and chittered with delight. A chuckle escaped Zavala's lips, and he was surprised by his own sudden smile. Crow waved him on, and they eventually found themselves in front of a small but impressive workshop. A sparrow sat suspended on a lift, thrusters removed, and Elixir tinkered beneath. It's coming along, Crow called out. The teenage mechanic jerked in surprise and hit her head on the sparrow. She muttered an Elixir phrase under her breath. It's Zella's. Who taught you such curse talk? Nick chided as she rounded the corner. You did, Itzelas replied with a grin. Very likely. Come, greet our guest. Nick and her sisters, Itzelas. This is Commander Zavala, Crow said. Itzelas? That's a unique name, Zavala said. Nick slung two arms around her young sister. Standard elixir would not do for this one. Itzelas pushed her arms away, earning a laugh from Nick. Zavala nodded. A pleasure to meet you both. We don't want to keep you, but, well, there's something I wanted to deliver personally to you today. He held up a small, unsuspecting toolbox. Nick's eyes went wide as she gasped. Amanda's instructions were to share them with someone who has machinery on the brain and oil in their veins. We couldn't think of anyone more fitting, Nick, than you, Crow explained. Nick accepted the gift, and Zavala held out an item wrapped in cloth toward Itzelas. And from what Crow has told me about you, I am sure Amanda would want you to have this. Itzelas unwrapped the cloth, revealing a well-loved spanner. She tenderly touched the initials engraved on the tool, then hugged it to her chest. Commander, I would like to know her as knew her. Will you share her stories? There are servitors' hollow recordings we could watch together, Neek said and motioned for the two guardians to come inside. Would you like some tea? Zavala looked down into the hopeful gaze of Itzelas and recognized something he had seen in a young human girl many years ago. I would be honored to share her with you. So that's sad.
Well, that kind of gives me some hope for the future that Itzelis
Oh
will.
God, you said it again.
I did.
Oh,
Um,
for the future.
that Itzelis would eventually become like an NPC. You know, like I'd
Yeah,
love to
wouldn't that be
see
cool?
more of that, like
Yeah,
actual like evolutions like that.
yeah. Like an elixir mechanic working on the sparrows and
Yeah,
stuff instead of, yeah, that would be cool.
and uh, some people might notice Zavala looked down at the hopeful gaze of Itzelis and recognized something he had seen in the young human girl so many years ago.
Yeah.
Was it Forsaken with the Zavala, or was it Destiny 2 with the
Cutscene.
Zavala cutscene? Yeah.
Oh, such a good cutscene too,
Yeah,
because it shows him like on his journey of being a young light bearer, becoming
yeah.
a guardian.
Like an awoken ship crashed on Earth. Ghost revives him. It's Zavala, like Greenhorn Zavala goes on his
Yeah,
journey, finds the early city. He's building up the tower. He's there for all of it. And then there's a scene in the tower where he's there, and there's like Amanda, like 6-year-old Amanda, must have just
yeah,
made it to the city, and it's like
just
so he
got
was
there.
there, and so it
Yeah,
must have been hard for him to lose someone who he's like watched over for decades, I'd imagine.
right.
But now he's
She
kind of
was like
seeing it
his,
again.
yeah, somewhat adopted daughter almost
Yeah,
in ways. Yeah,
yeah. I
because
mean, they could
Zavala
have
has
played with that
already
more.
experienced heartbreaking loss, as they talked about, with
Yeah,
his wife and his son, and so it's just like compounded.
yeah.
Sucks.
And then we have the final entry, the epilogue. The amazing stories you have just experienced are now a part of a Lixney record. You may not believe any of them to be true, but if you do, know that you are in good company with those who have lived these tales. The universe is an enigma, wild and mysterious, full of horrors and terrors and temptation. But go where others are tremulous to tread. Step beyond your senses and embrace the unknown, for only then will you discover new truths and new adventures. But only if you dare. Ithax, House of Light.
Yeah, Ithax.
Is that a name we've seen before? Doesn't sound
So
familiar.
it's not. So like this came up when this happened. Like this was one of the things that popped up uh, when the Festival of Lost came out. People were talking about. I remember, and they were talking about what was it? God dang it! I'm trying to remember exactly what they were trying to refer it to, but yeah, he Ithax
I
was
mean,
a
he's
scrap
obviously a
worker.
scribe.
Yeah, I just know that it was one of the Aramis scrap workers was originally all I could remember from that
Was
discussion.
named Ithax.
Yeah, so it's in the lore, but
Well,
like
it's
it was
not.
one of
It's
those
not in the
throwaway lines
lore on
early on,
Ishtar,
but
at
then
least.
I guess they're trying to build upon it. So maybe this is a point to something in the future.
You're thinking of Ithix.
Oh, am I?
Yeah, Ithix is Ithyks, the scrap worker.
Oh, you're
Ithax
right.
is a scribe of House of Light.
So maybe they were thinking it was the same person originally.
Yeah,
So
they
this is
seem to
just
be
a new
different people.
person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
so this is just a straight up new person.
I believe we killed Ithix, the scrap worker,
Yeah. Yeah,
because
you're
they
right.
were
And I
in
think that's why they were
a mission.
discussing it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all the way from
Okay.
Season
All
of
right.
Plunder. So
Okay. So not ethics, not to be confused with ethics. This is ethax.
yeah, a
Okay.
scribe of the
Cool.
House of Light. So that's
New.
gonna be it for us this week, and we will be back on the 18th of February. Wait, no, we won't.
What is that?
That is the weekend after Valentine's Day, and I will not be home that day.
Okay.
Because we're doing a post Valentine's Day little getaway.
Okay.
So we'll be back. Are you good for the 25th?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So then we'll just push it back one week. We'll be back on the 25th of February, and potentially, unlikely, but potentially on the 25th of February, if it happens, if it works out, we will actually get to uh, preview the final shape collector's edition lore book, because I got a notification, email notification, that it was still scheduled to ship to the light final shape original release date. Obviously, final shape has been pushed, but I will still be getting my
But
collector's edition as
yeah.
previous.
Yeah. I got my email also.
Awesome. So then you can
Yeah,
read yours as well, and we can show off the cool little secrets that we find.
yeah.
Um, Plug it into the psychometer, see if there's
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah,
any
put the Vala
additional
on there, see what
things.
happens.
Yeah, because I think there was still more. I need to go through the hidden dossier again because it had that image that was like, and here's all the things that you can. Oh, I mean everything's already been data mined from it, or I don't know if data mined is the proper term. Either way,
Uncovered. I don't know.
yeah, because it was like the psychometer. Obviously, it's a device. It's not connected to the internet or anything. So every audio file is on the device. So people who got it day one opened it up and they were just like doing whatever the fucking science they were doing. They got all the audios out. So the coolest one was the Lucent Moth figure. Do you know about this one?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So when we got the Lucent Moffat figure, you put it on there, and it did something too, which was
Yeah.
kind of
So
a surprise.
well, yeah. So it's in the hidden dossier. A Lucent Moth image is in the hidden dossier, and so when you finally got the Lucent Moth figurine, and you put it on the psychometer, it makes this. If I'm quick and I find it, it makes this random sound, right? And so that random sound actually makes something very cool. And so it just makes a sound, and unlike the rest of them, it didn't like give you blah 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 speaking. It just kind of shrieks at you. And so that
Yeah,
sound, I put it on screen for anyone watching. That sound made a spectrogram, and when you played that audio into the spectrogram, it was an image of a moth.
yeah, that's crazy.
Which it's like that's just one of the coolest fucking things. Like it's so
Yeah,
like so hidden, but like I love that shit.
yeah, that
Um,
is cool.
so I don't think there will be anything new for the psychometer. But hopefully we'll get our collector's editions in time. We can talk about it on next episode. If not, we'll be talking about it soon. We can guarantee that. Pretty much as soon as we get them and get them digitally uploaded, so that we can read them, make notes on them in our docs. We will be discussing that. Very excited to see what that will have.
Yeah,
Because
there should be some cool stuff leaked out by then, or maybe
yeah,
some Destiny a cutscene or something in the future. Man, I just we got a ways to go, but we need something to fill the gap.
yeah, I'd like to see. I mean, more than anything, I'd like to see if they could. I don't know how time intensive it would be, but if they can give us this like a cutscene showing the development of like kind of where we leave off in Season of the Wish and where
Yeah,
we're going to be in Final Shape, if they can like put something together that's kind of like here's what's happening like right now at this point in the game, and it's not the most like groundbreaking reveals or anything, but it's just kind of like saying, and there's progress being made. Here's the progress that's being made. Here's a little bit of character development. Here's a little bit of what you can expect. Stuff like that. I'd
yeah,
I'd
that would
really
be
like to
great.
see. And
Yeah.
no, it probably. Do you think one quick thing? Do you think that the updated light subclass abilities will be tied to the story?
I hope so.
You hope so. I hope not.
Yeah.
I
Why?
hope I hope if so, I hope it's like the first mission and they're like, "You did it. Here you go. New toys." And
Oh,
that's it. I don't want it to be missions of let's learn how to use the light a little bit fucking
oh
different.
no, no, no. Yeah, I definitely don't want that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if it's not tied to the story, if it's just like a quest and it does not require going into the Traveler, I would love if they just like, and here you go. You know,
Yeah.
even if they were like, we're gonna scrap the quest entirely, just go to Ikora. Like it might be lame to just go to Ikora, but it's like new things to play with, like in your waiting.
Yeah. Well, there's so much room for stuff too.
Yeah,
Like
there is.
I still like I've been playing this game for God knows how long. But
ten
I
years.
still don't even, I still don't even know what I'm doing half the time with the amount of mods and artifacts and the things.
Yeah,
I can't figure out a combination that works
yeah,
still. And I've been on Dim and tried to mirror some of the things that people are doing. I'm just like, it just doesn't work for me the way it works for other people. I'm just like, is there something going on? Like, am I just cursed?
yeah. It's just time to get good. What can I say?
Yeah, get good, bro.
Well, that's going to be it for us this week. We hope you enjoyed the episode. You can find us on Loose Cannon Show at Loose Cannon Show on Twitter. If you want to find more of us, that's where you can. Uh, Bye, everybody.
Bye.
I always wait for you to say bye. You leave me hanging.